We at Today 95.1 is important now to and existing. Read a book, listen to educational tapes, work out if you need to, bond your family, spread fear and panic, self-isolate and grow. Make this time count for you. This message is brought to you by Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people.
Talk radio.
I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Officer, take. Officer, give me number. No time. Ma dey match am. They go.
What? You bribing the officer of the law? You under arrest. Let me see your papers. You can go. They're in order. Drive safe, okay?
I don't understand though. No be the same country again. Officer reject bribe. They arrested me yesterday. That yesterday, I go do my papers. See as I pass now. I pass without fear. You too, make you do wetin dey right. For we country to better, it dey for we hand. If you like, do like say you no hear am. To give or to take bribe, na offense.
Una don hear am, abi? You hear am too, abi? You hear am. You hear am well. They themselves, they hear am. Now the voice of the people. Now him bring this message give una. Today 95.1 FM. Now we be the voice of the people.
This is today's hustle. One show that embodies objectivity. We raise the bar in examining the good, the bad, the sordid, everything that has to do with society.
In America, you buy a big house and you pay the years of your life. That is politics. In Nigeria, you carry all your salary and go and rent one bad politics.
Everything that has to do with
you
society.
must negotiate. If we don't negotiate, when a man is pushed to the wall, he bounces back with double efforts. We have been pushed to the wall.
The Hustle. Every weekday from
1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
on Today 95.1 FM.
I am directing the cessation of all movements in Lagos and the FCT for an initial period of 14 days with effect from 11 p.m. on Monday, 30th March 2020. This restriction will also apply to Ogun State due to its close proximity to Lagos and the high traffic between the two states. All citizens in these areas are to stay in their home. Travel to from other states should be postponed. All businesses and offices within these locations should be fully closed during this period. The governors of Lagos and Ogun States, as well as the minister of the FCT, have been notified. Furthermore, heads of security and intelligence agencies have also been briefed. We will use this containment period to identify, trace, and isolate all individuals that have come into contact with confirmed cases. I have directed that a 3 months repayment moratorium for all trader money, market market money and farmer money loans be implemented with immediate effect. I have also directed that a similar moratorium be given to all federal government-funded loans issued by the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank for on-lending facilities using capital from international and multilateral development partners. I have directed our development financial institutions to engage these development partners and negotiate concessions to ease the pains of the borrowers. For the most vulnerable in our society, I have directed that the conditional cash transfers for the next 2 months be paid immediately. Our internally displaced persons will also receive 2 months of food rations in the coming weeks.
All right, welcome to today's hustle. Reaching you live from Today95.1 FM here in Rivers State, and that was an transmission, a live broadcast of the president's speech yesterday, 7 p.m. in the evening, and he talked about so many things. He talked about palliatives. He talked about lockdown of 3 states, and some are asking why didn't he shut down Oyo State as well. He talked about several things. He said there were exemptions to the lockdown list, the manufacturers, people carrying
essential markets and all of that.
Yeah. He said all of those people can still move and all of that stuff. He also mentioned that the school feeding program should be on. He talked about the market money, farmers' money, traders' money, and how it spends to. And then he also talked
reaching out to the vulnerable of society.
Yeah, he also talked about reaching out to the vulnerable. He talked about dispensing money to certain states. I mean, he did talk and he did touch on certain wonderful issues. But you see, right about now, or as at the time of when the speech was done, the conversation was not on what he had talked about. I mean, on the morning show, Annie and I guess has already, they have already talked about what was the content of the president's speech. So we're going to take it up a notch a little bit as, trending stories for this afternoon. The social media went agog, and social media was all about, why is he standing like that? Why is that flag there? Why is the broadcast recorded or pre-recorded? Why is he not answering questions? Why is he not giving room for journalists to ask questions like, we see Donald Trump and other people do? Why is it not a press conference? Why is it pre-recorded? Now, do you think Nigerians can be satisfied? I mean, I'm looking at it from that angle and I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, this guy has spoken now, right? Does this speech he has given make any difference in the fight against COVID-19? But a lot of people are not really interested in all of that. A lot of people are more like, hey, guy, why are you standing like that? Is that even Hassel Rock? I mean, that's not a familiar. Is that even? I mean, a lot of people are asking very weird questions. But anyways, welcome to today's hustle once again. I'm yours truly, Kalada, and with me in the studio is Bolu Ajayi and Wealth Wilson. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon, Kalada. Good afternoon, Wealth.
Good afternoon, guys.
Was she going to wave?
She was going to wave, and I was wondering.
Anyways, now this is the narrative. Now, what do you make of all of this social media? Will I call it silly comments or comments? Let's just go with comments. Let's go with comments.
Let's not call it silly, yes. Because somehow trending right now is a lot of questions about, as you said, the place where this particular recording was taken. A lot of people were like, it's not in Aso Rock, speculations here and there. But for me, the only trending thing that actually did catch my attention with regards to this particular speech is the issue with the vulnerable in society, reaching out or giving palliatives to those people. That's where my problem is. We'll talk about that, but let's hear what Bolu has to say, though.
Okay, so I was going to say, well, Nigerians and how we act and how we do our things. So it's only normal for people to come out and say certain things on social media and all over, this fair. Somebody was even saying the president was in Cuba or something like that.
That was the narrative.
And
that was the narrative before the speech, and then there was the speech, and people were still not satisfied.
People weren't satisfied.
Is it a problem of hatred that have gone on for so long a time, and okay, maybe because I don't belong to this political party, or I don't like his style of governance and all of that stuff.
I'm very indifferent about the president and all politics.
Yeah, I am also.
But I saw the speech. I felt it was a well thought out speech because the president touched lots of
he did.
Factors that I didn't even envisage, such as the loans and everything. And I was wondering, okay, this is a very nice speech. It might not have been the president, most probably, who put down the speech.
I mean, they are paid to write down speeches. I mean, people write speeches for Donald Trump. So what are you talking about? Yeah,
exactly. So it might not have been the president, but his team or whoever wrote the speech and the president himself for coming out to read it out. They did really well to an extent. They did really well. They touched certain areas, and for me, the president coming out to speak has always been about calming nerves down.
All right.
After the president came out yesterday, I feel people, even myself,
I felt it.
I felt calm a bit. Okay. Things are being put in place.
I had to ask myself, I don't like politicians, but why is this getting to me? I mean, I felt a little bit of,
calm. The idea of this is that he is the head of the country, whether we like it or not, right? And if he says something, and especially with the way he did, I mean, the well put together speech, it was
and he didn't do
I was impressed.
So you see, somehow it made people see that, okay, yes, these people have us in mind. It did come.
People did
and everything, but somehow it did calm
nerves. Now, does this buttress the point of one of the aides that said that the people do not really want to listen to what the president has to say? They just want to look for what fault they can pick. Does this buttress that point?
And that is the essence of politics. That's the essence of having oppositions. That's the essence of having people who just don't like you.
All right, let's pick some holes now. Yeah, he said vulnerable. Now, a lot of times politicians have come out and they're giving speeches. I mean, everybody is still waiting for Governor Wike, to come out and say what are the essentials he was talking about, because exemptions are always about essentials. And it looks as if on Saturday, or it looked as if on Saturday, a lot of people were, battered, according to reports that I did get, that a lot of people were battered by the tax force going around because nobody really knew what essentials. Even on our news bulletin this morning and afternoon, we're seeing where the sachet water company is thinking of going on a break on a hiatus because they feel like they don't want to be embarrassed by the tax force. But sorry, the president should be able to specify who the vulnerable is, because I feel like I'm vulnerable myself. I might just be 3, 4, 5 days, 30 days away from being a poor guy.
At this point, every Nigerian is vulnerable,
right?
Yes. So what is going to be the indices, right, that the president and his team wants to put in place to make sure that they reach out to people who necessarily need this reach out or stretched out hands? I mean, how are they going to assess these people? How are these people going to assess this promise for the vulnerable in society?
I mean, they talked about working hand in hand with governors so that ensure that the vulnerable people are reached. But then again, let's hear from you, Bobby.
I was going to say, when we use certain words, they are quite ambiguous, and I could be vulnerable.
I'm vulnerable. I don't know if wealth is, but I am vulnerable. I need it.
So I feel like when we say certain things, we should be more defined, especially when we're addressing a very large number of people who we are accountable to. As the leader of those people, you should be able to define what exactly you're trying to say, so people don't go about trying to define it themselves, think it was vulnerable.
But let's look at this now. Do we need to be giving out money at this time, or do we need to be giving out? Because I know he mentioned he was going to be giving out relief materials.
I think that.
But do we need, because he was also talking about market money, traders money, should we be channeling all of those monies into maybe buying foodstuff where people can stay at home? Now, you don't want people coming out, remember, because if you give them money, they would have to come out and do buying and selling, right? So don't you think maybe the federal government should go back and rethink that very aspect, that we don't need money in the hands of these people, that maybe we can give them bag of rice, bag of beans, tubers of yam, and all of that stuff.
When you give them money, we have a lockdown and shops are locked, markets are locked. When you give them money, you realize that it doesn't really have value. Maybe
with the outcry, I do believe that markets will not be locked. We would have, as you said, shift markets, where you can, where you can go in and pick up whatever you want or whatever stuff you need.
Okay, then if we have it in that way and that manner, that would only mean that people will still need money at the end of the day, because you have to get some perishable
But
goods.
right now, I don't think the people should be buying. I think the people should be given.
I do think the people should have the relief materials as well as the monies as well.
Nice.
Because in Lagos State, I read that about 200,000 households, that's a family, would be receiving some rice, beans, and all of those foodstuffs to for their upkeep during this period.
Now, I want to ask a question because we have so much to cover, and look at the time now. It's already 21 minutes going into the hour. Talking about Lagos being in lockdown, Abuja being in lockdown, Ogun State being in lockdown. If you give them money, how are they going to use the money? Everybody has been ordered to stay at home.
And that was what Wealth said.
Yeah, it's a curfew, right? Say from a certain time to a certain time.
Is it a curfew? I think they said it's the lockdown, 14 days. You be at home for 14 days. Stay at home, that's the order.
And then the essential man will be able to bring in these commodities to the people.
All right.
So I just feel that they're going to figure out a way.
The president also talked about some industries which would still, go on with their activities because they produced essential stuff. So hopefully we get to see that happen.
All right. So now, is there anything the governor of Rivers State can learn from this? Because a lot of people have also been making comparisons, on social media, and some people have said, "Oh, you just closed down markets." And the speech and palliatives are all around this. The speech is punctuated by palliatives. And people are saying, "Oh, he's going to give bags of rice. He's going to give money, trading money." But what is the governor doing? He's just closing down markets. And I do hear reports reaching me that he's leading the task force to ensure that people comply with some of the directives given by the state government. But do you think it's time for the River State government to begin to put palliatives? Because I looked at one newspaper this morning. Ekiti State, for instance, due to the closure of schools, has begun, teaching on radio for students. And then Lagos State, we talked about last week, has got makeshift markets and all of that stuff. Do you think, because people are hungry, if you open the phone lines now, are you hungry? A lot of people are hungry. So do you think maybe we should begin to look into some of these measures to ensure that there are palliatives for the people?